Please join me in welcoming him.
Did you know that was me when I was 3 years old? Hi, I'm Haimovich. So everybody in here might know me as one of the 20 global finalists of Google Science Fair. But people might wonder, what's the story to the success? So at that time, I wasn't raised up as a scientist, but I was actually raised up as a happy kid and a normal kid. And I was expressing myself through music, and I was pretty happy about it. And then I started asking why about questions and about environment or the environment around me. So I would ask my mom, when I go out with my mom or my dad, I would always ask why and how. So for example, I would go like, hey mom, why does this work and how does it work? Or I would ask my dad then, hey dad, what's inside? What's inside of this? And then when I asked that question, I actually open up that thing and then actually figure out what's inside and how it works. But then my creativity sparks. And it was actually through Minecraft. Well, at first, at that time, I was around 7 years old, and I even built a space station in Minecraft. And the other one is that I built a Titanic. And I even forgot, like, how did I do that? When I came back and looked at that, I was like, whoa, that must have took a long time to build it. And then when I saw that picture, I then realized that at that age, I couldn't realize that I could be a young innovator. So not until I was 7, my parents inherited me with science and technology. And they trained me as a creative maker, and it was natural. It wasn't like training harshly or, my parents didn't force me to take extra class in order for me to be like creative or smart. It was naturally through them. But then, the first thing, before being a successful young innovator, the first thing that I have is passion. Well, where did my passion come from? It came straight from my heart. So when I was 9 years old, my dad bought me a Lego Mindstorm set. And with that Lego Mindstorm set, my dad would challenge me. My dad challenged me if I can do one invention that can help the world. Well then at that time, my creativity sparks out. And then we start doing the sketch, and then my dad and my mom, they guided me on that way, on how I could design, on how to design it, and how the process could be made. But then a day later, during the process of making it, it was from labor, right? But I didn't sleep at all. I was doing like the whole night, and then it came up to me, and then it came up to me with my dad, and then I said, "Hey, Dad," and then I made this thing called the unblinder. So everybody might be wondering, what is the unblinder? So the unblinder is made from a Lego, and it has the sensor which detects obstacles in front of them, and it is for sight-impaired people. So when sight-impaired people can't see, this will be their eye. So that it will detect obstacles that are in front of them, and then they will send a knocking signal to their hand. And that is the first version. But then I discussed with my dad and my mom, and then we realized that it was actually too big. So then we first went to an electronics store, and then we bought and then we bought some stuff, and then we made it and failed. But then it failed, and then it got back up again, and my dad found more electronic parts. And then the electronic parts are actually the sensor that is behind the car. So we use that sensor to be a sensor that detects the obstacles, and then it will send a sound signal instead. And that is the second version. And the sketch right here is actually the second version of the sketch of the unblender. But then after that, I started to discover some new phenomena. So at that time, I was 11 years old, and I was playing an unplugged electric guitar, and my mom was loudly watching movies. But then I accidentally heard my tune on the guitar, and then I realized that the sound got louder. So then I asked myself one question: that can I use this phenomenon to help hearing impaired people? When I first discovered that phenomenon, I then went to my mom, and then I ran to my mom and dad, and then told them about it. And then I even let them try out the phenomenon, and then it works. And it was very impressive at that time. I was so excited. So then my passion comes to me again. And this passion, after discovering it, the passion is that I want to make a hearing aid out of it. And to make a hearing aid out of it, and then let them hear the sound, like how I sing to everybody else. A passion that hearing impaired people can hear the sound of their loved ones. And a passion that would like to make the world a better place. Well, then after that, I did some research. And I found out that the vibrations from the guitar that went through my jawbone, and then it hit the cochlea immediately, bypasses the other parts of the ear. I then did some research on that, and then I found out that it's bone induction phenomenon. So then, from that research, it then made me more motivated on the thing that I would like to create it so that it can actually be used worldwide and make the world a better place. But then, why would I want to do research on this? And this is because of my parents. Well, at that time, I was doing research, and then the ears was not actually easy. But then, my parents, they encouraged me to do some research, and they encouraged me so that I would not just stop there when I have the idea. So when I have the idea, so I don't just stop there. I go forward and I do it. And then that is what my parents encouraged me. But then when we created ears, when we created it, it was actually pretty hard. The first things first, the parts that I've created in this, it was not actually easy at all. At first, my dad brought me to an electronics store and then again, buy some parts. And then it failed. And then when that time failed, I put lots of effort in it. But then when it fails, it's like something valuable in front of you is like melting away in front of you. And that thing, it made me frustrated. And I was actually sad. And I didn't want to continue to do it. But then my parents comforted me. Then my parents said that you need to do it, and you need to. So they encouraged me to do it, and then they just pushed me. And then we went to an electronics store one more time, and then bought some more components, and then even went to 7-Eleven to buy some more electronic parts. And as you can see here, before using the microphone thing, it was actually my mom's headband. So we combined my mom's headband with the contact lens caps, as you can see here. And the contact lens caps will be the cavity, will be the storage for the transducer. So then we combined all that and then actually tested to ourselves by putting some earbuds on and then put the hearing aid behind our ear and then play some song. And then it actually works. Well, then it first worked. I thought to myself that, okay, if it works, we need to prove it. We need to prove it actually works. So then I went to do a pre-test on, so it's I'm just having to watch my school, the school of deaf. And in this video, Clavel, the volunteer, who has a profound hearing loss, which is like severe hearing loss, can hear the sound from the hearing aid and can repeat the teacher accurately without reading her lips. Well, as you can see here, this teacher, she was covering her mouth. And then Clavel, on the left side, she repeated accurately. And when I first heard that sound that came out of her mouth, and that sound that she repeated after the teacher accurately, it then makes me more motivated. And then it makes me think that if it actually works, I really want to do it. And I really want to do it for the sake of impaired people. So then after that, I applied for funding. But then when I applied for funding, it was a funding that it says it's for startups. So then I went there, but the limited age for applicant was 19 years old. And at that time, I was only 12 years old. So when I was 12 years old, I let my dad to be the leader of the project, but he used my name as the inventor and the creator of ears. But then we went to the first round, and it was actually pretty good. I even got a fast track to the final round. But then when it gets to the final round, the judges, when I finished pitching, they said to me that first things first. So they said to me that first things first, the ears device needs to get the first dollar in 6 months. And then the second thing is that ears needs to be a medical device, which takes up to 3 years of process. So then I came out of there, and then the results came out that I didn't get the fund. Well, at that time, I was so depressed. I was laying down on my ground, and I was speechless. I actually done nothing. I slept there, and I became super lazy. But then my parents came to me again, and they said to me that, "Hey, Hub, you can't just fall. You can't just fall down because of one simple rock that is in front of you. You can't do that. You gotta stand up, and then you gotta move on. And for hearing, and if it's not for yourself, just do it for the hearing impaired people." And with that word, the mom said, it then made me think again. And then I started thinking, and then I became brave again. And when I became brave again, I then, okay, I will continue to do this. Well, then after I continued to do this, my mom also told me that, hey, remember local science fair? And at that time, I was 11 years old, right? And then a mathematics teacher told me about local science fair, but I was 11. But then the limitation of the applicant age is 13 years old. So then now I'm 12. So I would like to submit this project to Google Science Fair. So if no one can hear my voice, I would like to prove to Google, I would like to prove to the world that everybody in here and everybody in the world hears my voice. So then after that, I went back to conduct some warrant tests. But then when I went back to do warrant tests, I then realized that many of the volunteers have a low vocal power. And in this video, you can notice how much low their vocal power is. So after that, because I sing since I was a kid, I didn't know how to use the diaphragm method. So then I had this idea of combining the diaphragm method with this software so that hearing impaired people can learn how to use the diaphragm method through the software. So then I created this software, and this software is called Easy Speak. So hearing impaired people, and also including Alzheimer's people and people with lung diseases, can use this software because they have the same problem, which is low vocal power. So in this software, hearing impaired people and all those kind of people can learn the diaphragm method through the software. So then after that, I then combined my software with the ears device and the diaphragm method. And this is what I called my ears platform. I then realized that, my project is actually art, science, and technology combined together. And when that combines together, it makes me feel unique because, usually art and science won't go together. But in this case, art and science goes together. But everything doesn't come to us easy. And everybody might think that this project that I've done is easy. And there are no obstacles. But it actually was a harsh road. And the first thing is that the first thing when I started doing the Google Science Fair is that I didn't even know what a hypothesis is. And then the second thing is that I have to learn how to process data because I don't even know how to use, Excel or spreadsheet to process data. And then the third thing is that I tested it and then it failed. And then tested it and it failed. As I've stated to you earlier, that I've conducted tests. There are also some more tests that I conducted, and then it failed, and then it fails, and sometimes it fails miserably. And I need to even create my own questionnaire when I'm collecting data. And with that questionnaire, I even need to do more tests because the first questionnaire, I went to the test and it failed because the questionnaire wasn't that good. So then with the help of my parents, we created I think around three forms of questionnaire. And then it became successful. And the hard thing about this project is that my project has two hypotheses, one for ears and one for Easy Speak. So at that time, I was so depressed because of the two hypotheses thing. And I got to create my own questionnaire. I got to conduct my own test. And my mom was actually crying because it was pretty harsh. And I was 12. But then when everything started to go okay, and then, I feel like I failed everything. my mom came to me and said that, hey, it's okay if you have two hypotheses. And I taught you to be a risk taker. So just write down as a proposal that there are two discoveries. If they think that your project can change the world, well, they will accept it. But if they think that the project cannot change the world, they will just don't. So just take risks in a good way. And with that word that my mom said to me, it then made me shine again. And it made me become brave again. And then I started to feel motivated again. And then I started doing my project and continued doing the project. And then Google wanted to interview me through the internet. And at that time, I was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. Google interviewing me. So at that time, I was sitting in front there and, everything was prepared and I was so nervous. My hand was actually shaking. But then they started off with, asking me questions first, asking me serious questions. And, at that time I was like, oh my God, serious questions, all right. I was shaking. But then, after 5 minutes of serious questions, one of the employees said, congratulations, you're one of the 20 global finalists. Well, at that time, I was speechless. And when they asked me questions that, is it the first time you're in California? Is it the first time you're going to the US? I was like, I was stunned. So then after that, I then went to the United States of America, and then I went to the Google headquarters. And I was very impressed with that environment. Because first things first, the judges there and the employees, when I went there, they said to everybody that, hey, congratulations, you're already the winner. And when I went back to the hotel room, they even sent me a gift card. No, they sent me a card that, congratulations, you're already the winner. Well, with that experience, it feels weird to me. But then, I was actually impressed and weird at the same time. But why am I impressed? Because they're telling everybody that they're already the winner. And to come here is to show the judges and show the world how cool your project is and how much your project can change the world. So then I met the judges at the exhibition day and also the presentation day. And it actually went pretty well, and I'm so impressed with the judges. So first things off, the judges just told me that, congratulations, you're already the winner, first. And then the second, they asked me questions. And then, they don't discourage kids. They respect. First things off, they respect children. And they respect ideas. And, they don't put borders between children and adults. And as you can see here, it was like it was actually not that formal. Some of the judges even wear hoodies there, and it made me feel like, okay, it's like we're one family. So then after that, they gave me such valuable feedbacks on like, how can I improve my software, or how can I improve my ears device. But then I've also met new friends. And at that time, I was the youngest. I was the youngest of all, and I was 13 years old. And other kids, they were like 15 to 18 years old. And most of the ages in here are like 18 years old, which, I feel there's like an age gap. And, it was actually impressive in there because I was 13, right? And then everybody asked me, how old am I? And then I said 13, and they were like, what? So after that, they then called me Hub, the youngest, because I was actually the youngest in there. And, it was one of the best experiences in my life that I've made. But then something pretty emotional happened during the award ceremony day. Well, before that day, it was the public exhibition day, and there was a little girl. Well, not little, a bit taller than me. She walked to me, and then she's just like a normal person. She walked to me and discussed like how cool my project is, or how can this shape the world, or what can it be improved on. But then came the award ceremony day, and the results came out that I didn't get the prize. And then she just walked to me and then said, she just walked to me and then said that, hey, you did very well on your project, and please don't give up, because there are a lot more impaired people out there waiting for you to help help them improve their quality of life. And please don't give up. And I know that your project can change the world, and your project can make the world a better place. And with that quote, with that speech, I then realized that it is the best experience I've ever gained in my life, and better and much more valuable than other prizes. And then, so we still have more work to do. You still need to develop the ears device and the Easy Speak software. So the ears device needs to be developed in like housings and other electronics and stuff, so that it can be compact and used worldwide by the hearing impaired people. And for the software, we still need to develop it as an application in our mobile phone, so that everybody can access to it. So, actually, because usually, sometimes some of the people like to cut off children's valuable opportunities, and sometimes when they have a very right idea that seems to be impossible, but it is possible, because everything is possible, and then they just put this barrier between children and adults. So then I would like to tell everybody here that never cut off children's valuable opportunities. Because if you do that, it's just like putting a box over their heads and then chopping their arms so that they can do nothing, and they can just think only inside the box. And just respect their idea, respect children, because they have lots of bright ideas that can actually change the world. And just listen to them, and respect them in terms of listening and guiding. And I would like everybody to hear your voice, and also to give them the freedom of choice, and not to just put barriers all over them. Sometimes I tend to give up from hate speeches. And from these hate speeches, there are some that are racist, or there are even some that compare me to a politician. Well, because of that, I started to cry, and I started to fall down, and it feels like I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to stop it there, so that nobody can blame me. So then my mom let me play this game. So within this game, there will be cards. So this card is like, it would be the card that, it has a contrast between good things and bad things. And then we will need to choose which one, which behavior we would like to do. But then when the game finished, there was a small envelope. I opened it, and then it says, be self-disciplined. So everybody should be self-disciplined, even though we are all not perfect. Even I'm not perfect. So we just need to be self-disciplined and, try to improve ourselves every single day so that we can be better. Because there is always a gap that we can be better. So from all of these experiences that I've gained in my life, it is black and white. It is good and bad. And the world has two sides. The good side and the bad side. So when there's a bad experience coming into your life, just acknowledge it. Acknowledge it, accept it, and then let it go. Just let it go. And then always see the world as positive things. And just continue on what you're doing. So I would like to tell everybody here that if you are not prepared to be wrong, you will never come up with anything original. Because when you grow up, you may become frightened of being wrong. And the last thing that I would like to say to you is that ideas are not for dreaming. It is for doing. So when you have the idea, just develop it. Just not stop with the idea. Just go for it. If you have any crazy idea that seems to be impossible, it will be possible. Just continue with what you're doing and you will be successful. So I would like to thank you everybody here. And thank you. Thank you.